What's going on, YouTubers? Um, well, basically, I pressured myself to make this video anyway, so I don't actually have um, anything specific to talk about in this filming session, other than more shit about anti-natalism and more about my own pathetic life as a hikikomori and blah blah blah. But I do recently got a couple of comments from a viewer of mine of my videos of my channel. Apparently, he disagrees with anti-natalists. He disagrees with anti-natalism, and and he quoted a bunch of a bunch of a bunch of biblical verses to to refute the concepts, the core concepts and arguments pertaining to anti-natalism and the seemingly the seemingly mutually exclusive natures between between anti-natalism and Christianity. In fact, I would like to, I would like to, in fact, consider this filming session a reply video to to his comments. I would like to point out a couple of biblical verses in response to your comments against anti-natalism. In fact, if you go to I'll quote something that's something that's better known, that's more well known, than the book of Ecclesiastes. If you go to the Gospel of John, chapter 1, verses 9 to 14. Yeah. That was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor the will of man, but of God. And the Word was made flesh, and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. So note note John chapter 1 verse 13. It says, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. I want you to consider this verse in particular, the will of flesh and the will of man. Imagine how many children, how many children receive birth against their will, based on their parents desires and wants. Wanting to become parents, wanting to taste the, wanting to experience parenting children, aren't their desires the will of flesh, and the will of man, since there are still you know plenty of men out there who solely consider having children, having a family, the highest level of achievement, the highest level of success they can attain. And that sounds quite like a shame, doesn't it? And for the sole purpose of procreation, for the sole purpose of experiencing something miserable, something they can actually avoid experiencing. And whilst they haven't actually attained an adequate level of financial independence, having to borrow money, having to take loans in order just to get married, in order just to get to become able to start a family. Doesn't that sound pathetic and fleshy? It's since most parents. Well, I'm not saying all parents, but most parents they still tend to center, you know, procreation, on social pressure, on social norms. So that says most childbirths are centered around social pressure, in particular peer pressure and social norms that pressurize them to procreate, so that they can get a bit of praise from people around them, from the society, from the system, and that's that still when we discount the the native, excuse me, the native environment, the native genealogies of parents in general, assuming no birth defects, assuming no abuse against those children. This life, as we age, still doesn't seem so worth living. At least when at least once you consider the amount of misery and hard work versus the amount of pleasure and the actual value you bring to the whole human population as the entire humanity. Well, at least based on my own perceptions and experience so far, life has pretty much remained a huge disappointment to me ever since I dropped out of ever since I dropped out from uni. and I used to think, I used to perceive, I used to, to kind of, or to a huge extent, associate, um, you know, completion or graduation from a prestigious uni, from a prestigious degree at a prestigious uni, um, with with success. But all those with the current, you know with the current events and shitstorm ongoing, that is hardly the case. In reality, you just, well, and not to mention, when you bring whenever you bring a child, an innocent soul, into this cruel and merciless world, you also subject such child, to the ultimate inevitability of life on planet Earth, which is death. You inflict, such horrible fate upon, an innocent soul, upon another human individual who just happens to share your blood and genes, based on your desire, based on your self solely based on your selfish and self-righteous desire to have a children, to please yourselves and to please people around you. That sounds quite cruel and unjustified to me, at least. Well, I don't know if you can make sense of what I said so far, but first of all, based on the amount of pleasure, the amount of enjoyment, and the amount of so-called contribution to the society, to every human being, other than yourself, you can do throughout your whole life. Life is just not worth living. I still haven't yet actually switched off my life by committing suicide, due to the fear of physical pain, and the pain I will pass on to my grandma and to those who truly love and care about me. So long as they still remain alive, the pain, you know, that will be left as a result of me committing suicide will remain certain and tangible and nearly unbearable to them. So, so once you force a life to exist, you basically also forced him or her to die, and and not to mention not to mention that you haven't actually, technically speaking, passed the qualification test, as to whether you are qualified for being a parent or not, so that you can treat your children or your child fair and square. And unfortunately, I'm sure you have seen way too many cases of child abuse. You know, so need I say more? And I would like to conclude this 15-minute session with another another couple of biblical verses I find quite supportive of antinatalism, which came from the famous one of the most famous books in the Bible, called the Book of Ecclesiastes. So the Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 2. Chapter 2, chapter 2 verses chapter 2 verses 15 all the way until chapter 24. Then said I in my heart, as it happeneth to the fool, so it happeneth even to me. And why was I then more wise? Then I said in my heart, that this also is vanity. For there is no remembrance of the wise more than of the fool forever, seeing that which now is in the days to come shall also be forgotten. And how dieth the wise man as the fool? Therefore I hated life, because the work that is wrought under the sun is grievous unto me. For all is vanity and vexation of spirit. Yea, I hated all my labor which I had taken under the sun, because I should leave it unto the man that shall be after me. And who knoweth whether he shall be a wise man or a fool? Yet shall he have the rule over all my labor, wherein I have labored, and wherein I have showed myself wise under the sun. This is also vanity. Therefore I went about to cause my heart to despair of all the labor which I took under the sun. For there is a man whose labor is in wisdom, and in knowledge, and in equity. Yet to a man that hath not labored therein shall he leave it for his portion. This is also vanity and a great evil. For what hath a man of all his labor, and of the vexation of his heart, wherein he hath labored under the sun? For all his days are sorrows, and his travail grief. Yea, his heart taketh not rest in the night. This is also vanity. There is nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also I saw, that it was from the hand of God. For who can eat, or who else can hasten hereunto more than I? For God giveth to a man that is good in his sight wisdom, and knowledge and joy. But to the sinner he giveth travail, to gather and to heap up, that he may give to him that is good before God. This also is vanity and vexation of spirit. I also want you to read, to chew on chapter 4 of the book of Ecclesiastes. So I returned and considered all the oppressions that are done under the sun, and behold the tears of such as were oppressed, and they had no comforter. And on the side of their oppressors there was power, but they had no comforter. Wherefore I praise the dead which are already dead, more than the living which are yet alive. Yea, better is he than both they which hath not yet been, who hath not seen the evil work that is done under the sun. Again, I considered all travail and every right work, that for this a man is envied of his neighbor. This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. The fool foldeth his hands together and eateth his own flesh. Better is an handful with quietness than both the hands full with travail and vexation of spirit. Then I returned, and I saw vanity under the sun. There is one alone, and there is not a second. Yea, he hath neither child nor brother, yet is there no end of all his labor, neither is his eye satisfied with riches, neither saith he, for whom do I labor, and bereave my soul of good? This also is vanity. Yea, it is a sore travail. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they shall fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. And blah 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 blah. Yeah. So, do you get my point? Anyway, guys, I suppose I have talked enough in this filming session. So yeah, and I don't actually feel like filming a video at the moment, and since I don't feel so confident with my flow of speech tonight, and since I don't actually have something marvelous or something highly inspiring to share with you guys, and probably that's why mostly recently all you see all you can see on my channel are pretty much videos about Mass Effect and Dragon Age Inquisition, in which I played in French. Yeah, so I just felt so bored. I've been feeling so bored, and got nothing else that I perceive to be productive to do other than replaying those games in French completely. But in any regards, thanks again for watching and listening. Have a great day, and stay safe. Cheers. Au revoir.